capital.
Okay.
And I remember in conference committee writing down the changes that I wanted to see in the bill on a white piece of paper and passing it to Representative Tom Workman, who represented Chanhassen at the time, and having him give it to the chair of the committee, who was our current lieutenant governor. I'm really bad at names sometimes. But at that point, they voted on it, and what I had written had become law. And that was kind of exciting, is that just anybody could go and have that sort of influence on the laws that we live by and what we do. And I had taken it from there that I sort of wanted to be active in government from then forward.
You sort of saw it happen, and you sort of became a lawmaker before you were voted into office.
Well, all citizens can make law, and all citizens need to be active and be part of their environment. It really is tough when we have an oligarchy where we have R.T. Ryback and his cohorts that are basically dictating down to us what we can and cannot do in the city without listening to the voices of the people.
How would you prefer to see the city run?
I'd like to see the city run primarily under the advisement of the neighborhood associations and within the context of working with individual blocks and organizations. The idea is that government should be bottom up and not top down, that we need to be representatives of the people as elected officials, and rather than being some form of dictator and letting people know what they can and cannot do, and making decisions that are not necessarily in the best interests of those to whom we're serving.
So you're running for 7th Ward City Council. 7th Ward is primarily downtown Minneapolis, is that right? Is it pretty much the whole? We
have downtown, downtown West, Elliott Park, North Loop, Loring Park, Lowry Hill, Kenwood, Cedar Alsdean, and Bryn Mawr.
Oh, those are all the neighborhoods.
Those are all the neighborhoods in the 7th Ward.
Okay. Gosh, I don't know. Tell me a little bit about what sorts of actions you want to see if your first 100 days.
Right now, a friend of mine talks about wants and needs. I mean, we all have desires. We all want to have all sorts of programs. We want to help our neighbors out. We want to do all sorts of things. But we're in a particular economic moment where we have to concentrate on needs. We need 886 officers on the street. Without that, we become Murderopolis again, and nobody wants to see anybody die unnecessarily. We need 176 firefighters. We need to keep them on the street. We need to keep our roads in good working order, and we need to make sure our bridges don't fall down. We need to make sure that when we turn on the tap, water comes out, and that when we take a shower or we flush, the water goes somewhere and gets purified. These are things that we need. Everything over and above what we need is simply a desire. And right now, when you've seen property taxes increase year over year at the 8% maximum, with an additional...
Is that a law, the 8% maximum? Is there a law?
Well, there's a state law from the last year, not the last year's legislature, but the year before that legislature said that outside of 10 or 14 exceptions, you can only raise taxes by 8%.
And how many years has it been raised like that?
He has raised it since, I believe, 2002. He has been raising 8% a year. Now,
who's he?
That would be R.T. Ryback. Yeah, his agenda has been 8% a year.
Why has there been the increase in taxes?
It's interesting that you ask that, because if you look at inflation, the inflation rate has not gone up at 8% a year, and yet the city continues to fall behind in simple road maintenance and bridge maintenance and keeping up the infrastructure of the city.
So the intake of taxes has been increasing.
Increasing, but
more so than inflation.
But what we're getting out of it is less and less every year.
So where's the money going?
Well, Mr. Ryback recently proposed to buy 10 $50,000 drinking fountains as part of Arts and Public Spaces, which is more of a want than a need. Our $5.3 million green roof, but if you follow the numbers, if you put a regular roof on the Target Center, it would have only cost $1.8 million.
Okay.
The green roof is going to, because of its insulative quality, is supposed to save us $74,000 a year, including $9,000 worth of stormwater management service savings. But at that rate, if you compare the difference, it's going to take 23 years to pay off the Target Center or actually make it even close, and you haven't even figured in the additional finance on the $3.5 million worth of expense that we have to finance to put the green roof on. And furthermore, The Timberwolves are scheduled to end their lease at Target Center in 2024, only 15 years away. And I don't think there's any way that they'll want to renew a lease in the second oldest stadium in the NBA.
At that point.
At that point. Well, no, it's currently the second oldest stadium in the NBA.
Oh, it is? They build new stadiums all the time, don't they? You've given a couple examples of some things that you perceive as waste, some of those expensive fountains, and the green roof, which has built up a certain amount of notoriety around the city. Though probably not for the people who are getting paid to build it, and not for the people who advocate for a greener city, which I know Minneapolis has always sort of strove to be.
If you really wanted to have a greener city, we could have entered into a contract with I&I Energy or Xcel Energy for them to provide photoelectric arrays on top of that, on top of a standard roof, which would have saved us energy, and we would not have actually bought any of those solar arrays. So it would not have come out of the taxpayer's pocket.
Oh, and that could have been an example of how you could, you know, become a more energy-friendly city without it being, without it breaking the bank.
Yes.
And without having to necessitate property tax increases potentially. What are some areas in the city that just strike you as obvious and just gross negligence that you know are some clear indicators as to the city is not going in a good direction? Because I mean, again, as someone who just reads Yahoo.com or MSN.com, and I see hey, the place where the 50 healthiest cities to live, and Minneapolis has a pretty good ranking on a lot of these things. So a lot of people out there are probably going to say, why should we change? Who's running the city? If from our perspective and from Yahoo.com's perspective, things aren't that bad. We're a healthy city. We got great active, an active population who bikes, who does a lot of exercising. Who's pretty healthy. We've got good hospitals. I don't know. Crime, I guess, might be a little give or take, but tell the people we have that.
We have all that in spite of our current government. R.T. Ryback in 2003 stopped seal coating the streets after repair, which is why we're in the problem we're in now with a lot of our neighborhood streets.
He stopped what?
He stopped putting seal coat over the repairs.
Oh, okay.
In order to save money in the budget. So at this point, because we haven't paid for the maintenance that we need to, we've deferred that maintenance. We have roughly $150 million deficit in road repair and street maintenance, whereas the mayor has, over the last 8 years, paid off $85 million worth of general obligation bonds. So we're at actually a net loss of $65 million if we bring the streets and roads back to where they were before RT became mayor of Minneapolis. The kicker here now is that we are fixing the streets at roughly this year. I think we're going to do 65 miles. We're fixing the streets at a slower pace as we can, using what once was the Hilton Fund, or we call the Legacy Fund. It's not a legacy anymore. We spent all of it. It's all gone. All the Hilton money is spent. But
all the what money is spent?
The Hilton money. We used to own the downtown Hilton, and when we sold it, we took that money and we put it aside, and we put it in a fund called the Legacy Fund, of which we were only supposed to spend the interest on that fund.
Okay.
And now we have spent all the principal of that fund. That fund is going to cease to exist after this 4-year road program.
Okay, so the city sold an asset to help fund some of the things in the city.